Hello, everybody. This is the Hollywood Art and Movie Awards. This is our fourth or fifth panel this year for the 2021 edition. And I'm very happy to have an all female panel right now. Only strong women and women with beautiful movies and many very good stories to tell. How are you?
Good.
Wonderful.
Excellent. We're gonna make it simple. We're gonna start with who you are and where are you, and maybe tell the title of your film and if it's a comedy, if it's a drama, and just the genre of it. Let's start with Tina.
Oh, hi. So my name is Tina. Actually, my name is Martina, but because I was on many American sets and they cannot say Martina, so I became
True.
Tina with time. I'm originally from Prague, but I live in Canada for like 30 years. That's why I
Okay.
was asking, if we bonjour à mes amis à Paris. So it's
You can say
easy.
that.
Of course, I speak both
Oh,
languages because it's like official here, right? So you have to.
what about the
Yeah.
film?
Ah ben, merci. Bonjour.
The
Ça va?
the film. The film. It's a feature film.
Oui, c'est une comédie. So I'm here. I'm very pleased that I can talk about my movie. It's called Hotel Limbo, and it was inspired by a very, very old script from 1932, when the girl is coming, yes, to inherit a beautiful hotel in Alps, and she's sure that she's a billionaire, so she leaves everybody behind with like, I hate you, and she arrives, and it's actually a falling apart shack that is squatted by
Okay.
them students, So
It's a good.
I,
It's a
I
good
like the
start for a
plot.
comedy.
I like that plot. It's a perfect story for a comedy. So yes, Hotel Limbo is about that.
Okay, perfect. Elena, what about you? What's the genre of the film and where are you?
Hi, so my name's Elena Jennings. I'm currently in Los Angeles, California. I directed Dignity, which is a dance film, and it combines
Woo.
spoken word, dance, and film to talk about domestic violence.
Thank you. What about you, Virgie?
Hi, my name is Virgie Rodriguez. I am based in Los Angeles. I wrote and directed a film called Dreamer. It is basically about a DACA recipient, a dreamer here in the United States, that when she comes back through customs, through TSA, she kind of comes across a glitch that might have to get her deported.
Okay, good. Chris.
Hi, how are you? Thank you. I'm Chris Jordan. I'm also based in Los Angeles, and my film is named January 14th. And it's based on a personal experience, and I, changed it a bit around and tried to focus more on social justice. And it's essentially about a couple whose life changes after the husband is pulled over by a police officer. So that is our story. It's a drama, of course. So thank you.
Okay, so I'm interested today in this panel to get deeper a little bit into what it is to be a director and what was your process into directing the film you made. So we're going to have just one more question for each of you to present the film so the people watching get a little more familiar with it, and then we're going to get in a little bit more technical in a sense of the way, because I'm interested in what it takes to be a director in today's industry. So let's go a little bit deeper into the pitch of the films. What is it about? What's the twist? And what can people expect in watching your film? Keep it concise so we can then go into the more serious matter. Tina, do you want to start?
Sure. Comedy always starts.
Sure.
Everybody thinks, yes. Well, I think director is supposed to be the person that actually sees the film in front of you. You see the film before you make the film. It's already done. It's just in your brain inside. And the most important is to kind of let other know what do you see, how you see it, how you want to achieve
To
what
share
of creation.
share your vision.
share, communicate that.
Before we go
Yes.
to that, do you want to explain a little bit more, give a little bit more details about the film so people
Oh,
can
the movie, yeah. I'm
context of
actually
the movie?
blessed because I was able to do my own script. And that script came to me because I'm kind of watching around, and everything I see is kind of hilarious because we had, those refugees coming from US actually really running away to Canada. And we had also that summer when it was happening massively, we had a new law against pit bulls, and people were not talking about anything else than pit bulls, pit bulls, pit bulls. And who cares about some people coming from abroad? Hotel Limbo the script is based on that idea because everybody in that script is illegal. I have a pit bull there that is illegal dog. I have a woman that doesn't know that you have to keep the dog on the leash because she's arriving from Europe. So she's in illegal situation. She's arrested 3 times. She become a legal alien. Her hotel is squatted by illegal refugees that cross the border from US, and they are afraid. They are just hiding there. So everybody in that movie are normal people that are in illegal situation, and it is not because they are bad people, they did something wrong, but it's happened to them because the
Makes sense.
wrong
Makes sense
rules
how,
were applied
it
on
can
them.
become makes
And
sense how it can
that's
become
why
the
it's
source of a
also,
comedy.
yes, that's right, that's why it's called limbo, because when you're in that situation, all you have to do, it's like wait. You are in limbo. You cannot move. You cannot decide for yourself. You are just there hoping that you will go to the right direction. It's a body like a god, that is a nurse, that is a policeman, that is a lawyer, will help
Okay.
you to get somewhere. Yes.
Perfect. Excellent. Chris, can you give us a little bit more details about January 14th? You are muted. You need to unmute yourself.
Oh, so sorry about that.
No problem. Go ahead.
The film came from a personal journey. I was watching my father grieve. We had lost my mother a few years ago. And so I wanted to write a story about what that process is and what that looks like. And so as I, begin to dive deeper into the story, I begin to say, okay, what if this were a woman? How would she be handling the loss of her partner? And so the story was really an exploration of two lives, basically, the one before and the one after. And as I dove deeper, I began to do more research about some social justice issues, primarily police shootings, which is quite prominent here in the United States. And so I wanted to make a film without judgment, but really talk about feelings and emotions and where we are as a society and what we're left with. And as I did the film, like with all things, it's a journey. And I had an amazing cast, amazing crew, and it took us 2 days to shoot this. And so we were so focused, so intent on getting this story in a space that people could feel. Because at the time, when you're a filmmaker, you don't know what you have on your hands until afterwards.
Until it's completely finished.
Absolutely. You're just trying to get from one scene to the next. So but we've been really amazed by the reception, how people have really resonated with the film, and it's just been amazing for us. And I cannot be humbled enough by it all, because at the end of the day, you realize that the film no longer belongs to you once it's out in the universe. It really is for the world.
And that's the way it has to be, in a way, because you have to give the movie away to the audience at some point. Elena, can you give us a little bit more details about your dance film and the reason maybe you made it?
Sure. Yeah. I really love to tell stories, and I think that spoken word and poetry is the most authentic way that I know how to use my voice. And I moved out to Los Angeles initially as a dancer, and dance is such a beautiful way to represent stories. And so I started with this poem, and I'm really passionate about activism and important social causes. Dignity is actually my second film. The first one that I created is titled Unremedied, and it's a story of sexual harassment. And this one I chose to talk about domestic violence, which unfortunately, the cases of in-house violence rose aggressively during 2020 with the lockdown and the quarantine restrictions. So I felt even more
Sure.
passionate about releasing this film. But it's a combination of spoken word and of movement and film, and trying to find a really beautiful way to represent a horrific truth in our society.
Okay, I like it. Virgie, what about you? How would you give us some more details about Dreamer?
So just a few more details. I actually have, I feel like a bit and piece from each one of your films. It is a social justice piece. I used to be a dancer as well and a choreographer. And, there is this place of a limbo that DACA recipients here, which is something kind of Obama worked on for immigrants, of kids that were brought over from other countries when they were young and they didn't have a choice in the matter. Their parents brought them over. And so they've gone to school here. They've taken out loans. Some of them have become doctors, attorneys, et cetera, from all around the world, not just Latin America. But and they live in a limbo. They don't have certain rights. They could be at any given point in time be deported back to a country they know nothing about. So it just plays on that a little bit. And really, I didn't want to try to solve the issue with this film. I just wanted to start the conversation, especially because it's still, there's kids in cages at the moment, which is horrific.
Absolutely.
So it really is just, it's gone on for too long. And it was inspired by my own mom's immigration story. Like how long ago she came to this country looking for a better life. She got it. But why are we still dealing with these issues? Why isn't it fixed, so to speak? Why aren't we in a better place?
Thank you. Elena, back to the next question that Tina started to answer before. How would you describe the duties and the job of a director today in 2020, 2021 in the independent movie industry, independent filmmakers trying to make their film out to the world?
Well, I was really excited about directing this film as well as my directorial debut, because it was a story that I had written. And so I was really specific about how I wanted to see all of those pieces come together. And, it's really interesting because dance is such a, in choreography, they're obviously very movement based. And I think that filmmaking is actually rather similar to that. It kind of feels like a choreographed dance in the way that you piece everything together and all of those shots and edits. It kind of becomes its own dance. And so I found that the transition into that was really fluid for me and something that I, could see inside my head. I think that there are so many people who are going out and finding ways to make independent films, and I'm really excited to see that progress. Just because I think once all of our pandemic, quarantine, 2020 into 2021 time ends, people are going to be really hungry for content, and there's so many good stories out there. And I think all it takes is one person with a passion for a story, and films are made.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, how would you describe the job of a director on set these days? Now that the pandemic may have changed some of the approach we have to take to do it, but overall, how would you describe, let's say, your job as a director to make a film happen?
Wow. I would just say that it's teamwork. Fundamentally, yes, you have the vision and you spend a lot of time with the script. This is my directorial debut. I wrote the film as well. And so I did have an idea of where I wanted to go and what I wanted to see. But one of the things that's beautiful about a great team is that there's so much more that you bring to the table and things that you didn't see before. And really allowing people to be utilize their gifts and really bring that to the table. And filmmaking is so much about problem solving as well. When you are an independent filmmaker, you don't have a huge budget, so you really have to improvise and be innovative. But don't let that stop you. I mean, it really is about saying, you know what, even the big studios, they're going to have issues as well. So it really, as a filmmaker in particular, just amazing to say, you know what, I'm going to get this done. And I don't have to wait for permission. I don't have to wait for a green light, and just grab an amazing crew get a great cast and go. Of course, that's only part of it, but that's the energy behind making the film and getting it done. Because granted, you do go in with doubts, but you have to push through because it's such an important story and it has to be done. So
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you. Being independent is a source of opportunity if you know how to do it and if you have the will and the energy to do so. Virgie, what's your take on being a director today? How would you describe yourself as a director?
Okay, that's a loaded question because
It
it's
is.
hard because just like Chris said, you do have to rely on a team that and a crew that really, for me, because there's hardly any budget at all, I used my credit cards. That's how I funded my film. There's so many ways to fund your film. So luckily found a crew that was just as passionate about my story, that hopped on board and wanted to get the story done. We shot it in 12 hours in one day. And it was location for us that was the key ingredient. Luckily for me, my experience being a dancer, being on set, working on crews with crews and seeing how they worked, I picked up a lot and I learned a lot that way. But there was something too about every time I looked on the other side of the camera, it was all men. Nothing against men. Love them. They're great. Hard workers. We love it. My crew was about 85% female. There was something about that. I don't know if that drove it too. But for me, it was just, we all had the same vision. No egos, no diva attitudes, no nothing. We came into work. We knew what our roles were and we just stuck to that and we did it.
Okay, Tina, you have a feature film with Hotel Limbo.
Right.
How was your approach to make this happen? Because it was not only one day or a week of shooting; it may have been more. I hope for you. So, how did this come together in the end?
Well, it's all in prep, right? You have to somehow organize yourself. You have to have discipline to classify your days, your material, know where you are going with it, with the story. You don't have that freedom to just say, okay, I can take people on that good wave and enthusiasm. You have to, because you become a provider, you become an employer basically, because you spend 2 months with them. So you have much bigger responsibility as a producer, and because I am also a producer, so yes, I'm taking it very seriously, and I'm working with unions on the top. So there is strict rules there. But I think that all you said, guys, it's like if I would say that, it's exactly the same thing. It's who will stop me? Who will tell me that what I'm supposed to shoot, how I am supposed to do it, and how I have to express myself. And here in Canada, we have fantastic tools to finance independent movies. I'm using them. And what is kind of sad to me that they call it industry, because when I hear you talking, artists are talking. We are not industrial people. We are not going to the factory. We live our passion, and I admire you guys, and that's how it is. That's what is independent means,
It is. It is. I think I use myself the word industry a lot. We have two sides at the Paris Art and Movie Awards and the Hollywood Art and Movie Awards. We are for independent filmmakers, but we try to educate some of them who don't know enough yet how to get the foot in the door in the industry, in the sense finding distribution, finding financing and funding for movies, and everything that is going to connect a piece of art to its audience in the market. And when we talk industry, at least in our festivals, that's what we mean. But I totally feel you. And we have right now, and most of the panels we do, we have artists talking about what they do. I've heard about directing is like a choreography, about team effort, about problem solving, about male and female crew, and disproportionate sometimes one way. We have a history at the Paris Art and Movie Awards and in the Hollywood Art and Movie Awards and the network we run to support female filmmakers. And that's why you are listed in consideration for Best Woman Director. We have at the Hollywood Art and Movie Awards Best Male Director and Best Woman Director. So my question is, did you ever face, and I'm going to go with Lacrice for that, for a start. Did you ever face, Lacrice, discrimination because you were a woman, or challenges that did not fit right or fair because you were a woman?
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes it's very subtle.
I'm just talking film industry. Be careful, okay?
Right, right, absolutely. It's really subtle. Sometimes you're told what this should be, what it should not be, and then you see male colleagues who are in a similar situation, and they don't seem to get as much pushback. But I know all of these biases, but I try really hard to just stay focused, because I found that when you are good at what you do, you get less of that. And I'm not saying that as a woman, if you're not good, you won't get that. You will. But I find that if I stay focused on craft, if I stay focused on the writing, that's in itself enough. Right. And so what I would always encourage female directors, producers, writers to do is just focus on being good, because you're going to have those dynamics, right? You're going to have the objections. And I think across the board, the industry is just like that. You're going to have people who are going to doubt you. But when I'm focused on making this film, particularly with it being my first one, I didn't really have a lot of space and room to be thinking about biases. I just wanted to make a great film. And I think if we stay in the moment as much as possible, we can do a lot of amazing things. Because if you see, there's so many filmmakers, female filmmakers, who are, they're working against the tide, but still their work is amazing. And so instead of focusing on the negative aspects of being a woman in this industry, I switch it up a little bit and say, how can I be the best that I can be so that I can compete? Because I'm not just competing with myself, right? So that's kind of been my approach to the dynamic of the discussion.
Okay, I like it. Elena, your movie is about sexual trauma and sexual harassment. I guess maybe you've been witnessing or maybe suffering some of these pushbacks as a woman, or in the movie industry in a more larger sense. And how do you, the interest of the question is, how did you deal with it, and how do you still deal with it?
Sure. I created Unremedied first, which is a sexual harassment piece. I found that I was experiencing, unfortunately, some of those troubling experiences outside of the film industry. I hadn't quite been, and I'd been involved as a dancer. I'd been on screen as a dancer, but not creating my own work yet. And so initially Unremedied, and now Dignity, which is a domestic violence piece, I have found that that's actually my way of working through the things that I know that I've experienced over my life. I always take from my own experience, and I talk to a lot of women and some men as well. I try really hard not to be exclusive in the films that I make. I know that the subjects that I talk about tend to be predominantly women who are affected, but I do know that it's not exclusive. But I haven't, luckily, I've been extremely lucky in the last two films that I've made, that I've had a really wonderful cast and crew, and I've worked with some incredibly supportive people. I think it's helpful that I have female-driven stories, because I think due to that, my voice carries a little bit of importance in what I'm saying. I hope it carries a little importance and significance in my experience, and I hope that shows through the films that I make. But I have found, luckily, in the film industry, I have not gone through any of that bias. And I don't know if that's because I've chosen to be blind to it, or because I have been lucky enough to not experience that yet. But I agree with Chris. I think that there's more important things to focus on, and so that's where I choose to put my energy.
Good. I like it. The idea to focus on the good and to, I don't mean to ignore the bad, but I mean putting your energy on doing what's good for you as a film creator. Tina, on your end, did you face any challenge that was maybe directly connected to being a woman in making this film?
Well, not only this film. In the beginning of my career, I was even asked to have a male. Not I changed my name to a male name, that it will be better
Okay.
for the movie, you know. So yes, of course, it's and you are in blonde, right? But I have one advantage. I see that you are very young guys. You know, you are young. I'm an old lady, and somehow guys are a little bit less challenging old woman than young woman. But I remember like 20, 30 years ago, when you are attractive and slim and like sexy, and you want to direct all that team of men. Oh, they are not taking it easily. They don't. You know, they don't want to give up on their positions. So you have to fight. And I think that all our generation of women, we are living in much better world than 50 or even 30 years ago. And I'm grateful to my, to those girls that we call suffragettes, we call, I don't know, well, emancipées, whatever, you know. It's... They made that for us. They made it a place for us, and now we are taking it. And I have to say that it's in all professions. I remember I arrived from Eastern Europe, and when I first saw a police woman, I was in shock how a police can be woman, you know? So it's the same with filmmaking. When I saw the first cameraman woman, actually, the cameraman woman is with Ronald Emmerich. He has a cameraman woman. I was in shock. She is a DOP for Emmerich, you know. So me personally, I haven't seen that before, and it's absolutely amazing that we are slowly and surely getting there. That we don't see the sex, but just like who is good and who is passionate and who can do it, and that's why we are here.
Virgie, do you concur with that? Do you think that it's going in the right way? I mean, after Me Too, after every case of scandal and harassment and everything, do you think Hollywood and movie making is going in the right direction, even for independent filmmakers, or maybe we have much more to do to make it better?
I do think it's going in the right direction. I think I've done a few festivals, I've done a few panels, and I am seeing more female filmmakers coming up kind of in the ranks, so to speak. And, you know, Hollywood for a long time was a boys' club, so to speak. And what I've noticed, especially specifically doing this short film, it was like kind of, I don't even know how to kind of say it, but basically there was just like the stigma around, or just like everything we would hear was like, there are no female filmmakers. Females don't tell these great stories. It was like things that we would hear kind of in the industry. It was just like in and out, no particular person. No, it was just kind of a cloud. And from shooting this, I think for me, like I was saying earlier, looking kind of behind the camera and seeing everybody is doing their job. I can throw my hands up. I feel confident that everybody that is in their position is doing their job and doing it great. So what I realized, it was like a mental shift. It's like not kind of listening to those stories anymore of like, and especially being a woman of color, no, you don't have stories that people would want to listen to. You can't write those stories. Yeah. It's like the stigma, this little kind of thing that it's more mind over matter, I think.
Okay. Do you have maybe a question you would like to ask each other to get to know each other better, or anything you would like to know about somebody else's film?
I would like to know where can I see them? I haven't seen your film, guys.
Well, you're gonna be able to see them next week at the Hollywood Art and Movie Awards.
Okay,
so that's why we're here.
I think for me, it's just like
absolutely.
What was for all of you or any of you, whoever, you know, what was your biggest what was your biggest personal hurdle in saying, I'm going to direct this. I'm going to do this. What was your like kind of switch for you to say, I'm going to direct, I'm going to write. I'm going to direct.
Who wants to go with it?
I'll answer it.
Okay, go ahead.
I met up with a really talented musician. Her name is Jessica Lerner, and it was our connection was rather serendipitous. And when I read her one of my initial poems, we were like in Barcelona and the sun was rising. It's a really beautiful story. And I read her this poem that I'd written, and she was like, I need to write music for you. And I had kind of had this dream in the back of my head for a long time that I wanted to utilize my voice and my spoken word, and I wanted to tell really important stories, and I was so passionate about dance, and I just thought there's a way I can combine all these things that I love so much, and I think I can say something important and hopefully impactful. I wasn't really sure at the time. I just thought, well, I really want to do it, and she was really a catalyst for me. She believed in my words, and we sat in the studio and back in like 2017, and she started writing music to my poetry, and she started writing music, and I started seeing movement, and that was really kind of what drove me forward from there. And I think overcoming the I don't know if this is going to be any good and if anyone's going to watch it, but I'm really passionate about it, so I feel like I have to do it. And I think once I got over that, I just started writing. I started making things. So
okay, who wants to go with it? Tina, do you have a story you want to share about that?
I don't know. I forgot the question. I was just listening. It's so beautiful. It takes you
Virgil's
to a nice
question
place.
was, what was the sparkle that made you get into it? That was about it?
Oh,
Virgie,
it was.
yeah?
I had a very, very realistic and basic sparkle. It was my dog. Because
Your dog?
yes, because on my previous shoot, she was constantly alone at home, and I was looking at her how she's sleeping on the sofa. I was thinking, oh, come on, poor baby, I have to make her a star of the movie. So I was thinking a little bit about that. So yes, she's a cast. She is casted as Zaki, and it was good because she looks a little bit like Pitbull, so it's fine. So yes, it was my dog that actually kicked me to the story.
Excellent. Okay, Lucrece, what was the main click that made you go into filmmaking and into making this film of yours?
Wow. I always wanted to make a film. I started off as an actor at first and loved the process, acting, and then did some theater. And the idea for the story came about a couple of years ago, and I knew I wanted to make the film, but I didn't know at what point I was going to take that leap. I just wanted to write a good story, but what really sparked it for me was, it was time. Sometimes you get sit on a project and you say, I got to go for it. And that's what I did. And with a lot of encouragement from my producer, my DP I had known for a while, I went for it. And then when I thought about the story itself, I said, I've got to push aside my own inhibitions and fears and go beyond that and really not make it about me and just say, you know what, this is important. And once I started that, it became almost addictive, if that makes sense. And now I'm ready to make the second one. Even though we're in a pandemic, I'm still going to figure out a way to make the second film and the third one and the fourth one.
Okay, Virgie, what about you? Because you asked the question, but what was your moment or your click or the one thing or the one thing that made you say, okay, I want to go and do Dreamer?
So I had been kind of sitting on the story for a while, but I think it was just, again, a couple of you are performers, like being an actor, going out on auditions, seeing the same types of scripts. I was just like, how many times can I play a cop? How many times, we are, our culture, and also this is where the culture kind of plays into it a little bit, have so many amazing stories. If somebody doesn't tell the story, why can't I? So that was really kind of the one thing that spearheaded, kind of gave me the impetus to write this and actually go and want to shoot it. It's, I'm sure there's other people that can relate to this story.
Yeah.
Why isn't it being told? Well, I guess I can tell it, so.
Yeah, it's a very good motivation. You want to make the film that you want to see. It works all the time. Do you have any other question you would like to ask each other? Something you would like to know about movies, about dancing, about making a film? Elena?
I just wanted to ask Virgie, actually, I want to ask you a question. So in my own experience of trying to tell a story, either about a true story or something based on something that's a true story, did you find that you had any struggles in, I've got to get this right? Is that something that was a hurdle for you to overcome? And I don't know about you, I find pressure in trying to tell a story based on something actual, and I'm curious to know what that was like for you.
So with this particular one, I took a little bit of creative liberty because it was, my mom's story. So it was set back in the day when she first came over to this country. But currently I'm writing something and I'm finding that that's the hurdle. And what I've been finding that just kind of works is just stop telling myself I have to get this right, because nobody's perfect. Nothing's perfect. If you're on set and you're like, by that point, you already kind of know what you're going to shoot. So what I find is in the writing process that's, I have to get this right. And it's like, you know what's going to come out is going to come out. If you're doing something like autobiographical, I can see, but when that kind of stuff comes up, it's like added pressure. I put on myself, and it's just me putting pressure on myself for no reason. So it's just kind of learning how to be easy with myself.
How did you manage to relieve yourself from that pressure you put on yourself, Elena? What was your way out of it, making your own films?
Well, I think, I came to the realization pretty early on in making these films that they're not very commercial. They're not talking about sexual harassment and domestic violence is not a very commercial topic. And so I think when I got past, I need to create something that's likable, and I came into the mindset of, I really want to create something that's impactful, then I knew that the most impactful thing I could do was be honest. And so I tried my best to tell the story and Dignity is a compilation of multiple stories and multiple women that I spoke with. And from their stories, I kind of meshed everything together to create one. And so I think the easiest way for me to tackle that was just to be as honest as I possibly could. And I think that comes across through Dignity.
Yeah, it does. It does. Do you have any last question you would like to ask your fellow filmmakers? Now is the time.
What's your next project?
Okay. That's usually the last question I ask everybody. What's your last project? Thank you, Tina. I love it. I'm going to take you in as my co-host next time. Chris, what's your next project?
Our next project is very thematic, similar in theme to January 14th, but it's set in 1920 Virginia. So we're doing something ambitious called a period piece. Again, this is a film that's been on the shelf for a minute, but it really, it really is heavy for me, and I want to go for it. And I actually based my pilot off of the short. So the short was written before. So we have our location, and really it's just timing for this one, because it's a period piece. It's very specific to a time and to a story about a woman who's a sharecropper, and she's living with her 2 children and trying to again figure out how to navigate this world. Again, it goes back to it. You guys were talking about, Lena and Virgie, about authenticity, because when you do a period piece, people start looking at every little detail. But that period is very, I know it really well, so I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm going to keep going for it. So that is our next project. At least we have it on the slate, I should say.
Virgie, what's your next project?
So for me, my next project is I'm working on a kind of like it's a project that is coming out of the disco era in New York City, moving into the dance club era, and what that era was about and what it was like, and how it kind of basically spearheaded what we know today as club club world, right? Which is gone to like Coachella and all these big festivals, but it really all stemmed from this one moment in time in New York City with this one DJ or a couple of DJs, one, and then being a gay Black man in New York City in the 80s, Stonewall. So there's going to be a lot of that. It's also kind of a period piece. So I'm writing that, and I'm, talk about trying to get it right. But I'm taking time with it. So.
Elena, what's your next project? Is it going to be kind of a trilogy with the two first one, or is it going to be completely different?
Well, I am very inspired by dance and spoken word and film. I don't want to tie myself into the box of that, but that tends to be where my heart creates. I've been really affected by, as I'm sure everybody has, by the kind of divide that's existed in the United States over, I mean, a lot of people say over the last 4 years. I actually think it began much earlier than that, but I've been really affected by this divide, and so I've begun writing a project that kind of searches, that kind of unveils the humanity within each of us. I think that there actually is a thread that connects all of us, even though I think we've forgotten. And I'm currently working on that, and I'm really excited about it, and I can't wait to share more.
Okay, excellent. Tina, what's your next project after Hotel Limbo?
Well, I have a couple, but one is kind of mysterious almost. My co-producer told me, listen, do you know that Le Petit Prince, the Exupéry, the rights are expired now. We should do something about it. And I hate that book. I just didn't like that book. And I was walking, I went to the bank, and there, sometimes in the bank, people are leaving books there for free, like take it. And there was the book in French, and I'm lucky enough that I read French. So I told myself, it's strange, like he told me about Le Petit Prince, and here is for free, Le Petit Prince. So I took the book.
Sort of a sign.
And I was reading the book, and I realized that as a child, when I had to read it at school, I was not understanding the book. And I went like, wow, what is that? This is incredible. And I can use it. But I see it differently a little bit, that story, because the story of, for me, it's a story of somebody that is in distress, that is losing everything in life, and he has to go to his imagination or trying to find his way to the world. And I realized that the people today that are in this position are children of divorced families. They are silent. They are supposed to take it as it is, but they are in car crash. They are in plane crashes because all the universe is gone, and they are traumatized, and they have to make it. Nobody's asking them like why, what, nothing. You do it. And so it's a story about this boy that is actually people, like parents just divorced, and he's going through his life, and all these people on the planet, they are teachers, neighbors, they are people on the street that he's meeting and moving his story forward. And I'm stealing dialogue of Saint-Exupéry, and I never had better dialogue in my movies. It's fantastic. So I am like, oh my God, I really want to make that movie because I think it's an important topic.
Okay. So for now, guys, if you want to watch the films made by this amazing group of directors, they are going to screen all along the Hollywood Art and Movie Awards from the 21st to the 23rd. This is the Best Director category, which means that their films are dispersed across the 3 days. So you can go to this specific address, which is on the website of the Hollywood Art and Movie Awards, and you're going to see all the details, all the titles, all the movies, and you get a ticket link next to it so you can see and watch them on the platform Zerb. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. Chris disappeared from the screen because she has some technical issues, but we wish her very well too. Thank you so much for being with us for the Hollywood Art and Movie World and for this panel. And I wish you the very best for the next movie and the next projects you're gonna come up.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me.